Hello, my beautiful creatures. How are you guys doing today? I am doing pretty good. I've been kind of waiting for this episode because it's something that I struggle with, and I feel like we all struggle with. It's something that to me is very important, and it's starting to be talked about a lot more, which is really, really good because for the longest time, if you felt these things, you were crazy or you weren't allowed to talk about it because it was a taboo topic or something you needed to be insecure about, which I think is absolutely preposterous because we all go through this feeling and these emotions, and I feel like the more we talk about it and the more we normalize it, the more we're able to help each other and relate to each other, but also be able to just get help doing better in these situations. Because I feel like, especially with a lot of the older generations, it's a lot harder for them to understand or even believe that mental health or fear and anxiety is a real thing, because they were constantly told, you don't talk about your feelings, you don't talk about what happens in the house, you don't ask for help, you just dig down and let it just lie there until it rots and it turns them into bitter and angry people, or worst case scenarios, it makes them harm themselves or others. And it's like, I'm happy to be a part of a generation that we are trying to uplift each other and make it know that it's okay to have these feelings, it's okay to be dealing with these things, you're not alone, and we can all help each other. And so for part of my Rewiring series, I really wanted to come on and talk about internalizing fear and anxiety, because for as long as I can remember, there we go, it was always something that I struggled with. It was something that was really hard for me to come to terms with, but also to accept as a part of myself. I feel like I always thought that there was just something wrong with me. If you guys hear something in the background, my sister's doing laundry, and I think she left coins in the dryer. Besides the point. But I always felt like it was something to be afraid of and something to fear, one, but also to just think I wasn't normal. Like, I thought I was the only one who felt fear and anxiety, who had an anxiety problem, because I had a serious, my anxiety now is better and it's under control for the most part, and it really doesn't get to me as much. But I remember when I was in the 9th grade, I think that's when I really started developing an anxiety condition, of like a serious anxiety problem. And I remember, I'm not going to say the situation in which it happened because it's not a good thing, but it was something that happened within my family, and I was 15. And I remember before it happened being, excited for high school. I was excited for high school. I was excited for, the prospects of planning towards my future and working towards, because you're always told that, your high school life is a very important. It's very your high school experience and stuff like that, and what you do in high school is very important, because that's what starts you out towards the real world, whether it's college or moving on next. Like, that's what's supposed to prepare you. We all know it's bullshit, but for the most part. So I was super excited in it because I wanted, one, I was playing lacrosse, and so I was playing lacrosse for my school. I was doing student government, I was running for historian. I was joining drama club and book club. I joined in different clubs, and I was so excited. I wanted to make friends, and I wanted to do this and that. And about midway through, something had happened and destroyed all of that, where I had to drop out of school and move all the way somewhere else, and it was the whole thing. But I remember the first time I had an anxiety attack was I was leaving French class, and it was something that had happened right as I was leaving with my family, and I just remember being so overwhelmed. It was in the midst of everyone transitioning between class, so it was literally like a scene out of a movie where everyone's going and I'm just stuck in the middle, and I'm frozen there, and I'm like overwhelmed and I'm hyperventilating and there's like tears streaming down my face, and I'm trying to get to, I was going to my history class and it was the last period of the day, and I'm like trying to get to it, and I'm like barging through people and people are hitting into me, and it was like that whole type of thing, and I was just constantly getting more overwhelmed. And my friend on my lacrosse team, I guess she had saw me and she like followed me to class and like stopped me before I got in, and she like was like, hey, like, are you okay? And she like helped me calm down, and that was my first time ever having an anxiety attack. And I remember being so terrified of that feeling because I had no idea what was happening. I mean, I've had anxiety before, I guess you could say. Like, you know, we all had that tummy ache type feeling, you know, middle school and stuff. But I never really knew what anxiety was. I never really thought about it in that way because I just never just thought to. Like, it was something I understood. And so from that moment on, and after maybe about 2 weeks later, I moved back home and got back into school, and it was like everything for me was different. I was no longer as happy. I was angry, honestly, at the situation. I was angry. I was upset. I was angry that I was torn out of school just to go back 2 weeks later. And by that time, I had drama club already started, book club had already started. I had missed the elections for student government, so I couldn't run anymore. Like, I had to drop out of my campaign. And I've been working so hard on that, you know, and it was just like, I also just didn't have the energy to do any of it. I was like fed up. I was tired. I was done. I was like, you know, fuck it. I don't want this anymore. And I am just focusing on lacrosse. And I really only did lacrosse. I still did drama club, but I was too afraid to actually like put myself out there and like audition for stuff. So like I went to the club meetings and I did the exercises and I hung out with people, but that was like as far as I would get. And so that for me was like the start of like a very large turn in my life where like I constantly experienced constant anxiety, multiple, at least 10 times a day. I would have like many feelings of anxiety, and a couple times throughout the day I would have like little anxiety attacks, and it was like this for years, all throughout high school, honestly. And it just, my mental health from there on just digressed or decreased, or however the term goes, where I kept getting worse. And that's when I also started learning about that type of thing. I started learning about self-care and self-love, because I was trying so hard to save myself and do better, because I felt like I was drowning half of the time. I remember like my sophomore year for me was one of the worst years of my life. Every day I felt like there was a hole, there was nothing there. I felt empty. I didn't feel real. I hated living. I hated every single part of it. And I remember just being so afraid. And that's why one of the reasons why I love Billie Eilish, because my friend, okay, more like my sister. I always say my friend just to piss off my sister, because my friend Michaela was obsessed with Billie. But my sister has showed me some of Billie's songs, and her song "I Don't Want to Be You Anymore" was, to me, such a revolutionizing song for me, because when I heard it, you know, that made me realize I didn't like who I was. I didn't like who I felt like. I didn't like who I was being. I was always angry. I was always sad. I was always stressed, and stuff like that. And because of that, I was like, I even my grades were dropping. Like, your girl was failing. And I remember my lacrosse coach made us all like show our grades, and he was so disappointed in me, because I was always someone who had really, really good grades. Like, I always really tried hard in school, and like he made me sit there and call my mom and tell her, and my mom was angry at me. But like, how am I supposed to explain that y'all are all the reason I'm like this right now? Like, y'all are all the ones who gave me all this anxiety and this pain, and I'm angry at all of y'all. But I can't tell y'all that, because I can't say that because I'm too afraid. But also, like, I just wasn't in the opportunity or the space where I could express myself to my family and stuff like that. I also just didn't understand what I was feeling. So like, everything was taken out on other parts of my life. And so yeah, with listening to that song, it made me realize like I didn't want to be this person anymore. I didn't want to do this type of thing anymore. And I really started trying to make changes in my life, and it took years for me to even like myself, because I hated myself so badly, because I hated the way I felt about myself. So it made me hate myself more. And eventually I started therapy when I was 17. It was May 15th, I think, sometime in May. I've been in therapy for about 4 years now, which has been wonderful. And who I was when I started versus who I am now are so completely different, and it's insane to think about that and to know that. And I'm like, holy shit, like that's insane. It's incredible, and I'm really, really proud of all the progress that I've made. But yeah, and so to get into today's episode, we're going to talk about internalizing fear and anxiety. So what is fear? Fear, and I have like my little notes that I'm reading for those who are watching me. But yeah, anyway. So fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. So I like this definition, but I also feel like fear is a lot broader than that. I feel like fear is also something, not necessarily something or someone that is dangerous, but the fear of the unknown, the fear of what happens next. I feel like for me, that was always my biggest thing. And I feel like from my fear is where anxiety comes from. And the definition of anxiety is the feeling of fear, dread, and uneasiness. And so for me, my biggest challenge for me is putting myself out there in a way that the people can judge, or that I can even judge myself, and I judge myself very harshly. So like an example is with me with film. I love film and I love writing. Those are the two things I want to do. When I was 15 is when I decided I wanted to start filmmaking, and I studied every single part of it that I could and stuff like that. I was constantly writing scripts, yada yada yada. I could never actually shoot anything because I was so terrified of what it would turn out to be, because like I used to be able to shoot stuff all the time before I realized I wanted to do film, and it was just something fun for me. And once I realized, okay, this is what I want to do, I was like, I put so much pressure on myself to be perfect, or like I need to be able to do this or this and that I just was so terrified of actually shooting. I never did. And it was still something that I struggle with now, where it's like I kind of have to get myself to do it. And I have made short films before, and I have done stuff and I've liked them, but now I don't want to edit them because I don't want to see how it turns out. And it's such a terrible thing, honestly. And I'm trying to get over it, or like freelance jobs, and get more into being able to do that. Like I've done them a lot. I've made a lot of money doing freelance jobs. It's just, I don't know, there's still something in me, and even though I've already done these things and I know I can do them, there's still something in me that says no, I can't. Like I have a lot of anxiety when it comes to doing them, and I always want to procrastinate with them, because I don't procrastinate because I'm lazy. I procrastinate because I'm avoidant of the feeling that comes with doing certain things, and that to me is really hard. And I always weighed how I did in film and stuff. That's how I felt about myself. So I felt like I wasn't doing enough in film. I was angry at myself. I hated myself. I thought I was lazy and stupid and a scaredy cat. And that those things ain't true. And so for me, it was a lot of having to get over myself. Honestly, it's like literally telling myself, stop being a little biatch. Like you gotta do it, get over it. But it's not as easy as that. Like something that I did was take small steps towards like bigger accomplishments. For me, something I struggle with now is getting a lot of things done, or getting things done at a quicker pace, which as I'm learning and as I'm working more towards it and with it, is caused by me having ADHD. It's just a lot harder for me to get things done, or not being distracted, or being overwhelmed, and certain things like that, which is something that I am working on in therapy and stuff like that, which I would like to talk about eventually. I just feel like I don't know enough, or like I don't know how to express, because whenever I have to talk to my family and my friends about having ADHD, I don't know how to express it in a way that makes sense to them. And so like when I can kind of figure out how to portray that to you guys, I will have an episode about it. But yeah, and so because of that, like I will have like a list of like I for me, it's like organization is key, and trying to make sure I'm getting everything done is how I measure how I feel about myself again. And so if I get all of my work done this day, okay, I had a good day, I did good, I feel good about myself. If I didn't get everything done, then I'm hating myself and I'm mad at myself. But it also means that whatever I don't get done this week gets pushed to next week, and which our already has stuff planned for next week, so that gets pushed, and it just gets overwhelming. And then next I start overthinking, and overthinking is such a big part of having anxiety, because it's main part of what it is. Like you're just constantly overthinking your thoughts, or what's going to happen, or what someone else is thinking. I have this coworker, and I'm so convinced he doesn't like me. And like there was a day I was just really emotional. I had started my period, and I was taking longer to do something than normal, and I was also in a lot of pain. And in my mind, because he didn't really talk to me that much, and I'm like, he doesn't like me, like man just doesn't like me, yada yada yada. And so like I said it to him, I was like, why do you hate me? Like, why don't you like me? He's like, what are you talking about? I don't hate you. I don't not like you. And that's kind of just, even though I know he does like me now, like that's kind of become our joke, where I'll be like, why don't you like me? I'm going to get you to like me. He's like, I do like you. And I was talking with my friend the other day, and I told her, because I was like, I don't think he likes me. She's like, he does like you. And he just says that he just messes with you like that. But he talks about me all the time. And I'm like, up. But you see, like, I convinced myself something that isn't true, even though I do know that he does like me, like, we are cool, we do talk. But for the longest time, I was so convinced that this guy hated me because I felt like because he's a quiet person. I'm like, oh, he hates me, yada yada yada. But like, I was so overwhelmed with the idea of that, and then I overthought that, and like my own fear of, I don't know, like, I don't care to be not liked, but I was just like, I just feel like if you don't like me, let there be a reason. I don't know, besides the point. But yeah, and so that was something that I feel like I started struggling with a lot, and it all kind of, from what I can trace back, started there. And so the thing with anxiety and fear, I feel like that can ruin a person's life. I feel like it's kept me static in my life for so long. There's so much that I've wanted to do, that I've could have done, that I haven't been able to do because of the fact I was just terrified to do it, or it was too like scary, or like my own fears got in the way. And like fear and anxiety, like, one, it can cause a person to just give up. It can cause a person to fail because they're just self-sabotaging themselves because they're thinking they're going to fail anyway, because they have that fear, which leads to anxiety, which just leads to overall mess. It can lead to them never trying. That's something with me. I never tried to really put myself in film. Like, okay, that's a lie. I put myself in film. I never tried to really make my own stuff, because I'm like, if I'm working on someone else's and it doesn't turn out good, well, that's someone else's fault. But if I'm working on mine and it doesn't turn out good, okay, I suck. But now I'm getting to the feeling where I'm like, towards the point where I'm just like, I want it to suck. Like, I want to be bad at something so that I can get better at it. Because even if I'm bad at it, it means I'm still trying. And I honestly feel like when it comes to failure, like, failure really is just never trying. I did that for such a long time where I just didn't try, and that really messed me up. I would rather be bad at something, because eventually, no matter how long you're bad at something for, or how bad you are at something, the more you keep doing it, the better you're eventually going to get. That's just how it works. You're never going to stay bad at doing something for long, because you're going to constantly keep learning how to do it or how to be better at it and stuff like that. And so I just I hate that, because that was me for so freaking long. It also causes panic and anxiety attacks. I've had my fair share of panic and anxiety, but like, I've had my fair share of both, where I've gotten so overwhelmed by my own fears and stuff. And I think that was another thing, like, it stressed me out, because that's another thing that causes stress. It stressed me out so much to the point where, like, there was a point where I was like, do I even want to be filmed? Like, I put so much pressure on it to be perfect at it, or just not even at it, but like, I was like, if I'm good at film, then I'm a good person, and I'm okay, and I'm doing right in my life. Like, I didn't separate the two, and I kind of weighed one with the other, and that caused so much pain and anxiety just with that. Like, I was just like, film wasn't even enjoyable for me for a little while, and I've been doing it for 5 years, well, almost 6 now. And it's like, I was just so overwhelmed and had so much anxiety that I just was failing at life, because I felt like I couldn't shoot anything that I hated myself. So I started hating film, and I still struggle with this, but I'm starting now to get to a point where I'm just like, I just want to create, and if it sucks, it sucks. I'll get better at it. Like, I've been writing a lot more, and writing is something that I love. It's just a lot harder for me to write, because I can create the entire film in my head and plan out the scenes and all that. It's just actually I hate sitting in a spot for too long. So sitting and actually writing a scene is very hard for me, because I'm like, I'll write like a couple sentences and I'm like, okay, and I'll start looking around. I want to get up, walk around, yada yada yada. So like, that's like the one part that I hate about writing, is like actually writing it. But I will plan out every scene, I will cover every plot point, but actually sitting there and like typing stuff, it's insane to me. But just making stuff in film, like, I'm gonna edit my short films. No matter how terrible they look, no one has to see them. Which is the thing I feel like I be forgetting. I feel like I need to prove myself to everyone, to prove that I'm doing stuff and I'm on top of myself. So like, I feel like I need to show everybody my stuff, and I don't want them to think that I suck. So I don't want to make it, because I don't want to have to show them so that they think that I suck, and then I get confirmation that I do suck. Like, I don't want that. Instead, I could just like say, fuck it, I'm just not going to show anybody anything. I can make my stuff, and if it's good, great, I'll show it to you guys. If I don't like it, okay, I won't show it to you guys. And remembering that I do have control, like, it's not out of my hands, it's all up to me. This is the stuff that I want to be doing, and to remember to do it. I feel like when we internalize fear and anxiety, we allow it to take control over our lives, over our actions, over our emotions, over our mental and emotional state, and we allow it to poison us to a point where we either hate other people or we hate ourselves, or so afraid of doing things in the world that, the world terrifies me. But if I allowed everything that's happened in the world to, if I internalized all of it to the point where I was too afraid to actually step outside or to travel, what am I doing with my life? Obviously, it's terrifying, and everything that's happening in the world, like a lot of it really, really sucks. But I can't let that stop me from wanting to just help other people, wanting to think that there is hope for humanity or hope for people, or to even experience life. Like I can't. Obviously, it's important to be safe and smart about things, but like don't let it put you down, and that's something I had to have talked to me a lot, because I got like that a lot of the times. Or that's why I stay in my house, in my room so much. Like sometimes I'm too afraid to go out into the world, because I'm just like, which is why I was so proud of myself for going to France, because that was something I honestly didn't really feel like I could do, and I feel like other people didn't think I could do it, or maybe they did, and I kind of just took my emotions out on them and made myself think that they didn't think I could do it, because I myself didn't think I could do it, but I did, and I'm very proud of myself for doing it. And so that it's been extreme. And just also with like my future in film, like I talked to you about how it's affected my film, but like just my future in general, like I get so nervous about thinking, what am I gonna do when I graduate school? What am I gonna do in the future? What's my future gonna be like? And I get filled with all this fear and anxiety because of the unknown, because I don't know what's gonna happen next, and I internalize that, and then I like it freak me out for days, and I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know what's gonna happen in 6 months from now. Like that's when I graduate, 6 months from now, or well, 5 technically. Oh my god, no, 4. Oh Christ, this is scary. See, like I'm doing it now, but yeah, or just like even just relationships in general. Though for me with relationships, that's a little bit more based off of principle than actual for anxiety, because like I haven't never been in a relationship, and that has more to do with like I've been asked out before. It's nothing like that. It has more to do with the fact that I'm like, I feel like for myself, I want to be at a certain point. Like I'm like, I can't focus on myself right now. How am I focused on a relationship? I always feel like, I think that sometimes people forget when you're in a relationship, you do actually have to make them a priority. You have to make sure that you have time for them and stuff like that. And I don't want to be at a point where I'm like, I can't. Like I know that I'm super overwhelmed trying to just focus on stuff for school and stuff like that. I know that I don't want to be balancing a relationship with that, because I couldn't, like, it's like knowing yourself. But sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I would think, like, I would get overwhelmed with thinking about the prospect of relationships and stuff like that. I mean, that stuff still fucking scares me. People suck. But like that within itself. And so, something I really wanted to just let you guys know, just, it's okay to have fear. It's okay to have anxiety. It's a normal thing. It's not okay to internalize it to the point where you're stopping yourself from living your life or doing anything or moving forward or feeling anything, because you're so terrified of what's going to happen next. Like you cannot do that to yourselves, and so I did want to talk about, before I end today's episode, I did want to talk about a couple of things to maybe help you guys fight against it or cope with it. And well, like one, I mentioned overthinking. I overthink like a mother effer, and for me, especially just when I was struggling with everything, and I always tell everyone this, and it's something I always buy people, like I always gift this one thing, and that's a journal. I believe in journaling so much because it is life-changing to me, in my honest opinion. Being able to get your like ideas or your thoughts or your memories or whatever is stressing you out, your dreams even, written down on a paper so you can see it, I feel like that minimizes it. And what I mean by that is, like, I'll get overwhelmed, right? And I'll be thinking about something that's happened at school, and I'm stressed out about it, and I'm freaking out, and I'm like, I can't do this, and I'm starting to panic and stuff like that. And I'll just take a break, and I'll write it all down. And when I write it down and I'm reading it back, I'm like, oh, that actually isn't as bad as I was like making it out to be. Because when things in your mind it can be your biggest enemy, and it can create big scenarios, or it can create extra facts or extra things that make you feel worse about something or make something a lot scarier, versus when you write it down and you see, oh, this is not that bad. I can have a solution. I do have a solution for it, for me, journaling is something that, and I did it for years. I started when I was 15, and just doing little things. I'll write every once in a while, and then eventually I started writing every morning, and then I started writing every morning and night, and it was something that I really look forward to. And like as of lately, I hadn't been doing it as much, which shows for me. And so I've tried to been, I've fallen off of a lot of my routines and stuff that's really helped me, and I was like, I really want to start doing those things again, because they really helped me then. I bet they can help me now. So I've started journaling again. I've started to just do morning journalings, because right now I don't think I can do both morning and night. Because sometimes I feel like that's too much pressure right now. And like that, like take things small, take small steps. Like you're not going to be able to make big changes in your life like that. You know, it's that shit's really hard, you know? And so like taking small itty bitty steps where I'm like, okay, every day, every morning I'm going to journal. And then the next month, every morning and night, I'm going to journal. Next month, every morning and night, I'm going to journal and then meditate. Next month, every morning, I'm going to journal. Every morning and night, I'm going to journal, meditate, and stretch. Like that's something like small movement, small progress. So you're not getting overwhelmed. You're like, oh my God, I have all this stuff that I have to do now. Like that's something that became for me, where I felt like I had too many things that I was doing and I got overwhelmed. So I just stopped doing all of them, which wasn't beneficial to me in any way. And so journaling has become something that's been very useful and very helpful to me. So that's been wonderful. My next thing is grounding techniques. So grounding techniques, these are very important. And I did a film job for this foundation called the Quell Foundation that deals with mental health. And I highly suggest everyone to look into it. They're absolutely amazing. But I had shot a series for them for their first responders. And it was with first responders versus therapists. They would come on, each second would be one versus, with the other, and they would be talking about different coping mechanisms, different struggles, stuff like that. And so I learned a lot of stuff about that. And so I was going to list just 3 of them. One is meditation. Meditation is a very great way if you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed out to kind of get yourself to calm down and to kind of just start rationalizing. You know, you can just sit in spot, preferably like leaning against something. I feel like that's helpful. I like to sit on the ground or like on my bed. I like to feel something under me. Sitting outside too, like being in nature is very helpful, and that's something I wanted to start doing more, especially because where I live I have such a beautiful view, and just feeling the ground and the earth and, you know, all that good stuff. That's wonderful. And doing like 5-minute meditation. You can set an alarm on your phone, or you can look up use like Headspace, which is a great meditation app, or you can look up a 5-minute meditation on YouTube. I recommend starting off with like talking meditations where someone's talking you through it, because that you can sometimes like you'll be meditating and your mind's going somewhere else and you're like, oh no, I'm doing this wrong. Like there's no wrong way to do meditating, you know. And you can go on, and I can put some links down below for like some good meditating apps and YouTube videos that I feel like were really beneficial to me, and it'll talk you through it. And you can go from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And right now I'm just at 5, and I'm going to start work. Before I could do 20-minute meditations with no problem. Now I got to like start over and start small, but that's okay. And it's okay to fail and to mess up and miss days, as long as you just keep back with it. I think giving up is the true failure and stuff like that. So that right there is a great way to kind of get yourself to calm down in a scenario, or like in the morning if you're feeling overwhelmed, just and once I started really putting that into my routine, once I stopped doing it on days, like I could feel it throughout the day. I didn't feel as settled as I did versus on the days where like I did meditate in the morning. I'm acting like I don't literally have to leave for work in 2 minutes. Why do I do this to myself? All right, my second to last one is list the 5 senses. This to me is something that I did for years. I'm gonna put some more grounding techniques. I'll upload that onto my Instagram so you guys can all see, because I think these are very, very helpful. And this is something I did for years. My therapist had given me a sheet, like a list, like a packet full of grounding techniques, and I would like take them all off, because when I take my anxiety attacks were bad, and I would carry that list with me everywhere. Now I don't need to, but this is the one that I do whenever I get overwhelmed, and it's listing the 5 senses, which is 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can touch, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And when you do these and you like really, really take your time with it, like don't just be quick, like genuinely take your time, look around, feel around. Like I can see my books, I can see my pop figures, I can see what are those dream catcher that's on my bed, I can see a plate of spinach dip that I just finished right before I shot this, and I can see a tiny panda that I made at school. That's 5 things. And then you do 4 things you hear, and so on. And really taking your time and slowing yourself down and doing these is so helpful and beneficial. Like it really, really, really makes a difference in your life. And that just itself is just I love it. I love doing that. I have met grown ass men who still do that. It's okay, like man or woman, you do not like, there's no, you know, like do it. I met someone I was talking about it when I was working in the Quail Foundation. He was one of the police the shooting that happened in the club in Orlando a couple of years ago. He was one of the people who had raided in and stopped the guy who had killed all those people. He was one of those people, and he was talking to me, and he was saying about how he still struggles dealing with that, because they all thought they were going to die that day. And he was saying how, he'll be in the car and he will be doing it. So it doesn't matter who you are, you can do it. It's fine. My last one is the candle technique, and I really like this one because it's very creative, where it's basically, you imagine there is a mirror in front of you, and there's also a candle right in front of your face. You want to breathe in a way that you won't blow out the candle, but you will create fog on the mirror. And so it's all about, you can put your finger in front of your face and like try to like breathe on like a mirror if you want to do it like that, or you can do it just in imagination. But you basically do slow breaths to try and get that fog on the glass versus blowing out the candle. And it's like a type thing, and it's really, really useful just regulating your breathing for like when you're having a panic or anxiety attack, or you just need to level yourself down and stuff like that. So I really hope you guys liked those techniques. I'm gonna make an entire list, and I'll post on my Instagram this week, so make sure you guys check that out. I'll probably do it tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, so that's all I have for you guys today. I'm about to be late to work because my work starts in 19 minutes and I'm not even dressed yet. So I love you guys so much. Thank you all so much for coming on and listening to me. Thank you just for everyone who supports me. I'm really excited for this new year. I will be taking a bit of a sabbatical coming into the new year, so I'm gonna finish out the rest of this year with a couple of episodes, and then I'm going to take a couple week sabbatical so that I can spend the holidays. I'm going to Texas with my family, and I want to be able to spend the holidays with my family and kind of enjoy that, and also so I can just start prepping some better stuff for you guys. I'm really excited for this next year. I think it's going to be a great one, and I'm so happy and proud of all of you guys who have just been vibing and doing the stuff that you have to do to get life done. I love you all. I thank you all. I gotta leave in 2 minutes, so have a great rest of your day. Bye.